Yes, how are you, Mulimutia? This is Synopsis, part 6. By the way, let me just make it a bit easy here. A synopsis is a brief summation of events, retold in snippets. Well, some people might think a synopsis. We have a big story, and I'm recounting that story using my memories and, of course, factual events that happened during that course of the timeline between 1970, quote unquote, until 1985. Are we together? So I just wanted to clarify that because it doesn't seem to resonate well with people. Want to what's a synopsis? No, it's just a brief summation. I can quick example. People might ask, Kiguso, kola chebweru eyo joli. Mbagamba najja kusetolinga wano. It have been here 25 years. 25 years. Kati abamu ne bagamba naye olaika afunayo omukazi omulungi. Egos mukazi wali liddawa. This is how life goes on. So in brief, 25 years can be summarized in a synopsis of saying that you met a beautiful woman in London and stayed. Are we together? Anyway, let's get back to business as usual. So, earlier on this week, I think it was Monday, I brought you guys on the forefront of what we're going to talk about today. And lots of things are standing out. The billionaire syndicate, that is in 1985. Mufuna bulungi. The billionaires are the people nga bwe nabagamba who have a say in decisions to do with any situation. Nga bwe mugamba nti omugagga yayogera, omugagga yamanyi buli kimu. So in 1985 we had that same scenario, but in terms of our football. The story, by the way, is my memories of my uncle, Mr. Patrick Chwanuka Bukenya, and Express Football Club. My father, the late Simpson Chanda, is a childhood friend of my of Uncle Patrick. Basoma bonna bakula bonna. My dad supports KCC. He was an avid supporter of KCC Football Club. But their friendship is tested in 1985. But the friendship was coming from a long way. So let's go back to 1972, people. Chechiri War. Of course, earlier, before, on the 25th of January, 1971, Idi Amin, or the army, overthrows. They overthrew the government that was in. That was the Dr. Milton Obote government. Nabagamba, the last time, he was on a conference in Singapore and he was overthrown. So 1971, soon after coming to power, the Kakunguru Cup, or the Kakunguru Football Cup, is formed. What you would call, quote unquote, a Premier League or a Championship League or something of that sort. But this was the Kakunguru Cup. Nembagamba nti the Kakunguru I'm still digging that up, is loosely connected with the Chibuli Muslim, the Uganda Muslim. Well, what was happening at that time? When the government changes, Idi Amin, being a Muslim, he had to embrace, or you hold on to what really brings the people together. Munfuna bulungi. Kati in Uganda, the Muslims as a people tend to have a big say, especially in business or in terms of sectors. Abasiraamu abo baali mu bintu bingi nnyo, mu busuubuzi, mu mmwanyi n'ebirala byonna byonna. You get me? So the Kakungulu Cup is loosely tied to the Muslims, the Chibuli, Uganda Muslim. And later on, when they build the old Kampala Mosque, Idi Amin yenyini yazimba omuzikiti, a old Kampala. Why was that there? That is a direct conflict with the Chibuli. Because remember, we have the Rubaga Hill, that's Catholics, the Namirembe Hill, that is Protestants, then we have the Chibuli Hill, that's the Muslims. Noza mutegeera ekintu ekigenda mu maaso awo. So, in 1971, we have the Kakungulu Cup, which sets off on a high. It starts off on a very big high. Naye Express Football Club yaliwo, and KCC yaliwo. KCC had been formed in 1963. Express had been formed in 1957, and other small clubs as well. Are we together? So this rivalry by 1985 had been simmering. It had been, this is football. We're talking about football. We're not talking about anything else here, If it is a relationship, and I say you have been my friend, and now I'm taking you for dinner, and I'm taking you out for dates, the moment I hold your hands and bring you close and we kiss, what else do you expect? It's sealed with a kiss, people. Let's get real here, you know what I mean? Akati in 71, we have the Kakungulu Cup. Come 72, now with the new government really taking hold of things and bringing the country together. Kakati otwina Amini. Amin was a person who, more or less, you would say, a character. He was always in the people. He was always there when least expected. Chengeno bagamba nti ku mbaga ya mzei wange in 1972, when Uncle Patrick Chwanuka and my dad are organizing the wedding, they get the venue of Silver Springs Hotel. Jamnaitaka today, like today, Sheraton. You get me? Now we're going to go a reception. After party, yalina kubeera Lugogo. The wedding was to be held in Namirembe. The photography, the pictorial, the coverage, Afro Studio. Munfuna bulungi nyaawo. Wenagala tulabe ekintu kino nti ekyomupiira kyasiizingibwa ne kiba nga kiplayinga mu bintu bingi nnyo. What I'm trying to say that football was captured and shifted around in every situation. Kyovala nabagamba nti ne gavumenti yennyini neteekawo kirabu ezaayo. You had the Simba FC, you have the Kofi, the Nightil, the Uganda Commercial Bank Football Club, the Bank of Uganda Football Club. It was like the piece of the pie. You get me? The piece of the pie. So, my mother's wedding to my dad is in full gear, preparations, Chembagamba. There was a conundrum. Kakati kino kyekigenda okubaleetesa mbagamba nti bwe nabagambye nti Idi Amin yajja ku mbaga ya muzeeyi wange, nabadde si bluffing, I wasn't bluffing. My mom yali musiraamu. Yali musiraamu, abeekangulumira bano abasiraamu they strong, you know, mwogera ku basiraamu, their names you would hear, nogamba muwala wa gundi, muwala wa gundi. Now, the conundrum is here. Nagala mutegere bulungi nnyo. Yalina okukyusa eddiini, okumujja mu busiraamu adde mu buprotestant. Kakati, the word goes around nti omugagga Kyanda agenda kujja muwala wa gundi omusiraamu amuzze mu ddiini y'abakristaayo. You get me? Era envunvuulo, the word went around because mbawa example ki, you know, ne babugamba nti omuwala wa gundi omusiraamu bagenda mujja mu ddiini bamuzze mu y'abakristaayo. So Amin yayagala nnyo okulaba embaga eyo. Kiraba, yayagala nnyo okulaba embaga eyo. Era kyova olaba kye nabagamba nti ku Silver Springs Idi Amin yajjangawo okuwuga. Yayagalanga nnyo swimming pool eyo because of its length as a president. N'ebyali byonna byonna ebyali bigenda mu maaso. Tuli ffenna embaga yali y'amaanyi nti naffe famire ya mama wange they were not tebajja na ku mbaga, tebajja kyadividinga nnyo because of course my dad was using his power. Yali mugagga, he was a rich young man, 26, 27. Kiraba? So a lot of difficult decisions there were being made, and probably they tore the family apart on my mom's side. But she was young. Yali talina kyakukola, yali ayagadde omusajja we, and she wanted to start her life. Alati embaga eyo yalimu aba-Express bangi nnyo, the founding members of Express, who were originally in the media, the Uganda News Press. Waliwo akawulire Uganda News Press nga bwe nabagamba in the earlier synopsis nti ebyedda oba mwawuliranga radio Katwe oba mawulire Katwe, there was this rumor mill tabloid news that was Africanized, you know, to the palate of the people, but tegere ekigenda maaso. Of course, plus of course the Uganda Argus. Uganda Argus mugimanyi ne Uganda Times ga mawulire agalinga agaba, you know, the affluent people and all that. So Mr. Jolly Joe, one mwami Kiwanuka, George Kiwanuka, n'abalala bonna abo abali mu Express Times, akawulire nga bali part of also the Express Football Club. Munfuna bulungi nnyo. Nagala tumale ekyembaga kino kubanga maama wange agenda kuyingira ekintu kyataategeera nti kyali kigenda naye ate muteeka in the forefront. Okiraba kati, being that my father was a very avid football supporter, ng'alina babidandisa lyabo baminisita baani bonna ba Henry Chemba baani bonna abasajja baali nga b'amaanyi nnyo mikwano gye. My mom is young. She's just beginning her family and everything. Amaze okusoma, akomyewo okuva e Kenya. Naffe we are growing up as a young family. Are we together? Kakati, that is the situation of 1972. 1972, the Uganda Cup, the Uganda Football Cup, is not held. Munfuna bulungi nnyo. Despite the first season, 1971, the next year it wasn't held. Kubyali bigenda maaso byemutegeera, of course, the expulsion of the Asians and other political instabilities, so that by 1974 there was a coup attempt bayagala okuggyako Idi Amin, so ensi nebeeramu akakubaganaawo and all the things that were happening. Okiraba kati olwo my dad ne banne byali nabo kale I can quote unquote kati ganga Gordon wava muno owa gundi owa Spear Motors. Eyo Spear Motors yatandika nga Spear Touring. Ibino ebyaddamira byejja luvannyuma nnyo era abagagga bane babimuteekamu ne baleeta abazungu because government yafuna official dealership okusupplyinga Benz ezo era government bavuganga Benz n'abagagga Demila, not Demila, Chrysler is American. So, but it was called Spear Touring and Travel. Era my dad yakola ne wava munno balina partnership around 1972-73 nga balina Uncle Patrick Kiwanuka. Kati nga gye baakoma okugaggawala then buli omu nadda mu bibye. Kakati like example Uncle Gordon byenaabeera mu businesses ze nga bwe muzitegeera. Ono nadda mu service sector, Uncle Patrick, my dad nadda mu industrial sector nga ayina bamulwana abaani bonna ship toothbrush ne processing, industrial processing, quote unquote gyesobola bagamba ye Lake Victoria Bottling Company kiraba, which was later a parastatal, a government run company kiraba. I don't know how they used to do it. Kakati mu 74 or 74-75 waliwo gap era. So the earlier years of the Uganda Cup are met with a lot of hiccups. One season, because of the government interference, nti timu ezimu bayagala nga ziwangule on the premise of that. Timu ezimu ne ziwithdrawing nebeera walkover match. Okiraba nti by the time Express again kubanga ti noza baatyanga conflict eno eya clubs zino ez'abantu n'ebya government. So you playing the carrot stick scenario. Nti mu 1977 Express ebaningibwa ng'emaze okudefeatinga ekintu kino nkizeemu all the time kuba nange nekinewunyisa nnyo. It was very interesting. But prior to that, of course, one of the founding members, Jolly Joe, had met a very sad death. He was murdered. Kati n'abalala bonna abaali mu Express bagivuddemu bagenze mu exile. Awo we mbagambira nti Soccer Club Villa, Patrick Kawooya yali mu Express. Villa yali young youth team ye Express kubanga Express yalina team bbiri ey'aba youth neno main team. So we shall come to that in 80s, how Uncle Patrick organizes everything around. Okiraba kati kansoke mbawe a little bit on my mom, how she enters civil service. Civil service agiyingirira wa, and back in the day kubanga bino ebintu birimu abantu bangi nnyo. Katugambe Miss Janet Museveni, Muka Museveni okukola mu Uganda Airlines nga air hostess. Era bonna basomanga courses Kenya, courses eza secretarial bitali byonna courses zaalingayo ezasomesanga abaana b'obuwala abawala abalungi very beautiful girls. Abo Janet Museveni bali bakazi balungi. Gundi ono ani Auntie Margaret Kigozi. Yali mukwano gwa mama wange nnyo. N'abalala bonna, I can't give you specific names, but bwe bayingira civil service eya Idi Amin yayagala nnyo okuplayinga ekintu nti nno abakazi balina omugaso mu Uganda empya ng'aleese ekintu kye bayita second republic. Okay, Obote yali ayagadde okukireeta n'akigezaako ng'atufuula common man's charter byani byonna byatuyingira, but the second republic of Uganda nga ye baakiyita kyali rubber stamped by Idi Amin. Kiraba kakati my mom olwo kakati agenda kuyingira civil service n'abantu bonna abawala abali mu generation yaabwe. Kiraba olwo kati nga muzeeyi wange kati atandise bizinesi ziyakolanga, but in between that ng'ensi eri politically unstable nti by 1979 bwe tuddukire Kenya tuli baana bato, a lot of things were beginning to change. Tuli good, a lot of things were beginning to change. Kikyentegeeza okay, waaliwo byonna ebyali bigenda maaso mu Uganda nga bwe mubiwulira, kigi kitta bantu, bingi. But for the sake of our story, let's go back to football. Akati Simba FC, we already know it was the Army team, the Army club, was humiliatingly defeated in 1977. That set in motion so many things. Nti omupiira abantu gwe baali batandise okulaba nga ogwabwe, you know, the populace always has something they own up to. Nga bwe mulaba abayimbi sijui Kenzo bitali byonna nze team gundi byani byonna, you know, that kind of ownership. Kati government nga ekintu yekituddemu nekitandika okufrustrate nga ki babiliyoniya. Era bwe nalabye lisiti ya ttiimu zonna ezaali mu Uganda Cup zonna nga ziringa za gavumenti. That is why they were heavily subsidized. Nti walaba nka ttiimu nga kali so much, you know. Kamba buli ettiimu ze nalabye Kofi, Naitiro, Bank of Uganda Football Club, Uganda Commercial Bank Football Club, n'endala nnyingi nnyo. Kalisiti kali ku page yange, okiraba. Kakati bw'otunira the real teams that were owning up to the people nga ziri bbiri, nga it is Express and KCC. Kakati kyovola nti the word was Express mukwano gw'abangi, KCC Kasasiro Boys yali ttiimu y'abagagga. Mufuna bulungi nnyo, mufunye picture eri awo. Kakati kyesibabuulidde, kakati kyengenda obbabuulira nti when we come back from the elections, I would say the first elections in Uganda were held in 1980 following the overthrow of Idi Amin, and then the interim period where we had like a military commission, something like that, which organized the elections that brought in a new government. Kakati olwo babiliyoniyazi baffe bali ku ki? ba Mr. Chanda, ba Mr. Chiwanuka, ba Mr. ni bani bonna abasajja ab'amaanyi nga bali ku ki, ba Mukalazi construction bani bonna bali mikono gya muzeeyi wange. Akati the understanding is very simple. We are having to sit down and organize our football again. Naye, we are not out of the woods yet. Mufuna bulungi nnyo. The country wasn't out of the woods yet kubanga the elections were disputed. DP yawangula akalulu. That is what was official. DP, Democratic Party, won the 1980 elections. However, that couldn't work with the times that we are going on. Because the irony is that those elections were not disputed, but they were simply challenged. Bagamba, there were many flimsy excuses. Kubanga n'Obote bamukomyawo ne bamuyisa ebushenyi, blah blah blah, quote unquote. They announced that his party has more MPs, so he's the president. Where do you get that kind of gymnastics in politics? That's what happened. So that really brought so many things in disarray. All, henceforth, those who were not happy decided to do what? To wage a war. To Jeko government, Talina representation y'abantu and all those kind of things. It was more or less the same thing, rubbing each other against each other, because Obote, Idi Amin and all them, they were all the same people. So it was the same outfit, you know what I mean? So, but that's politics anyway. So personally, me, I'm not a partisan of politics. Politics was never the talk at home. The talk at home was money. Chengene baga mama 85 billion ya syndicate. When sente zangu ye bintu bingi nnyo. So you do this, you do that, you do that. So between 1981 and 85, my mom enters the corporate world. Kakati olonga zile zaali parastatals during Amin's regime. When the East African communities defunct, mufuna bulungi nnyo. The Uganda Airlines nebijja. What was East African Airways? Uganda Railways, what was East African Railways? East African Hotels becomes Uganda Hotels. So that meant that they had to bring everything in consolidation. The Uganda Development Corporation comes in place. Naye nga kyali mu cooperative gundi ya 1957 edda, before we got pre-independence. Kye nabagamba the other day nti tewabaawo kintu kipya kyoleeta. You only add to what is there. Period. I'm telling you the truth. So you just shift things around, or you clean the table and then you dress things up in another way. I got my mom as the corporate world. Big time now, big time. Kubanga nabagamba nti government ya 81 to 85 baateeka ssente mu bintu ebi embracing abantu. Era nenkosa example y'omupiira gwe twazannya mu masomero. Twalinanga youth league, twalinanga ebintu bingi nnyo. Ministry of Sports and Culture. Kati awo mama wange naye kakati naye she had come of age now, Remember, she begins family life very young, at 18. In 1972, kakati bala. So by 1980, I named Yakeneka. She was around 26, 27. Very beautiful. Very, very beautiful woman, my mom. Era yavuganga benze mu 84 kakati mbabuusiza. By then, kakati nga olwo alinnye mu corporate world. Corporate world. Naye wano sijui bulinawo tu, sijui bupijoti 204. Ke yavuganga sijui twalina n'akamotoka akalala awo kenzijukira. But those days of Amin, baba nonanga waka baweerezanga emmotoka eyo banona awaka ebintu byali ebit very bureaucratic. Kati ate ekyombo ne kikyusa ebintu ebyo byonna. Kati nga tukomyewo okuva mu exile. Baffe during that time twali Kenya ne tukomawo. Twakomawo. Naye nga mzee wange omusajja ye yali back to back. Bebaali n'emikwano gyabo ba Paulo Mwanga. Baani bonna abaali. Paulo Mwanga was a very good friend of my dad. Yali personal. Era twali ba neighbors ku Mahanda Road. Yasulanga ano nga tusula wali. Ebisale byonna ebyawe naye sibimanyi ebya business. Manyi sijui government sijui bakolagana ssente ebyo sibimanyi ebyo. Naye nze njogera bya mupiira. Ne maama wange n'obulamu bwe yalimu. Express mukwano gw'abangi football club makes a return, makes a revival. Dwe nsooka okulaba maama wange mu ebyo by'emipiira, ng'olwo emipiira girina abakiyitanga batya, balina ke baaleetawo awo kalinga like a championship. Is it Uganda Cup was there? Then there was the Uganda Confederation something. Maybe tungaba mulala kati ebiriwo. Naye nga ali mu administration ebyo bakola sijui bakozi byani byonna abo ba footballers bitalina bintu binene nnyo. Yes. Of course, plus her main job Uganda Development Corporation. Mu hatchery division kubanga corporation yali nene yalimu ebintu bingi. You get me? Of course, they had the bank as well. We are retiring Mugundi mu 85. Bamuwa bus. Museveni government ya Museveni ya mama wange bus. Quote unquote bamuwa loan n'agigula. Naye of course it was more or less like a steer. Unjuga bus da steer. Obaza ava Austria. Steer buses muzimbulye. We baleeta ne bi trucks ebi ifa. Ifa is bi trucks by'amagye bayita ne bus. Ezo zayita zisiba nga zibuguma engine. Twalina bus ya steer gye baba mama wange for her excellent work she did. Then that was coming to the tail end. They were beginning to sell all the parastatals. Museveni yabitunda byonna. Era company gye basooka okutunda yali ya muzeeyi wange. Pepsi-Cola. Pepsi-Cola igondi Lake Victoria bottling. Gye basooka okutunda mugondi privatization. Naye of course wano mbuusebuuseemukko mbadde njagala kukaba waako. It was the first company to be sold. Kakati mumbuli esente mmeka muzeeyi wange zeyalimu. Yeah, but he had passed away, you know. Yafuna ekirwadde mangu awo n'afa muzeeyi omusajja. So ebibeerawo ze, of course, but and then my mom had retired early, mu 85, because of issues with my dad. Kubanga omulimu, she became so powerful. Anyway, I've left the football on the side. Let me give you this one. I have 2-3 minutes. Tukanyumika tukamalayo. Era baakola omukolo gw'amaanyi nnyo. Eyo mu hatchery division eyo basaagala ginyumya nnyo mboozi ya hatchery eyo erimu abantu abakyaliwo today abali mikwano gya mami. era ne bakola pattern ebitebe byonna n'ebirala byonna ebyaliwo, and she retires. Ati muzee wange yagenda okulaba nga sijja kukigamba nti of course being of a young age nti baali people, but of course as a man you start getting very insecure. Era kaŋŋambe at some point my mom was excessively rich, yalina sente mpitirivu nnyo, yakolanga ebintu bingi nnyo eby'amaanyi ng'omukazi, and she was very proud, she was very proud of what she was doing, and that was it. But then she was forced to retire. Muzei wange n'amugamba atule waka, ne bakola faamu, ne tutandika okulunda enkoko awaka. Abajjanga ekyeba nomujjukira ebyumba by'enkoko ebyalinga emmanju nga tulina enkoko oba mutwalo mulamba, kubanga byali alimu mu Hatchery Division, Spring Valley Farms, Ruteete, kati si eri yugakiika eyo. That was a very big division there, down there. Gundi Ruteete ne gundi Kabanyolo ye, kubanga project yali y'amaanyi nnyo. Gamba we n'akalala akayinza obbasanyusa. Mulaba ka Benz Museveni ke yavuganga mu 86 nga yakajja mu bufuzi, ka Benz aka white open roof cross country, ze zimu ku Benz mama wange be baazigula. It was called GTZ. GTZ was a German gundi, baali ba Germany nga bali era mu byankoko Kabanyolo, be bakolanga research ebya hatcheries, mwalimu ebintu bingi nnyo. Of course even the ranches and everything ng'ebyo biri under Uganda Ranchers. Mwalimu faamu, mwalimu ebintu bingi nnyo, kubanga naffe faamu yaffe Kamuli yali demonstration farm nga muzee bakolyako ebintu bingi nnyo. Very very beautiful farm Kakiri eyo, nabina byagenda. Farm muzee Galo yagitunda. She couldn't maintain that farm. That farm was ng'eriko ebintu gyensookera n'okulaba ebimu ebikamente nga tubirina ebyakamanga ente, tulina deep ezisprayinga, kuliko ennyumba z'abagundi abaalimanga, kuliko ne tractor baazajjira mu Uganda Cooperative, Uganda Development Corporation, UDB Bank, empapula zino azirabako. Bazitanga Massey Ferguson tractors, zava England, zava sinawe zava. So byenjogerako bwe bityo bifaanana. Naye kati ekya biliyoni ya syndicate kiri bwe kiti. I have only 2 minutes left. Abagagga baateeka ssente mu mupiira nti guyambe okustabilizinga Uganda at that time. Of course, the climax to that was the 27th July overthrow of Obote. Awe tugenda okukuba next week. Kino ekyamamu wange kize mu conversation kubanga people picked it up very much. Abajjukira, those who remember the time and place of my mom, and her presence was always an enigma. They couldn't make up who she was, and really how she got along, yali mukazi wa class nnyo. So n'emikono gye yalina, very high profile people, of course, naye nga it was my dad who forefronted her, who really gave her a hand, who loved her, and of course they were a very very nice couple. Kati embaga ya Sarah Amin mu 1975 during the OAU summit. Mumanyi OAU summit eyo eyali e Uganda. Band eyakuba ku mbaga ya muzeeyi wange mu 1972. Kakati mugatte dots Sarah Amin kankomaawo. However, okay, of course, she later became a friend of my mom later on. Of course, we bijja bikyuka bwafuka first lady, things like that. Naye nga yali first lady, naye nga emikwano nja kubannyonnyolawo I'll bring that one. I'll bring that story for you. But of course, it was unfortunate when things changed. Her life took another direction. Okiraba naye bwe yabeerera first lady emikwano ne circles yalimu. Kiraba naye ku mbaga ya muzeeyi wange mu 1972 Idi Amin bw'alaba maama wange ne taata wange embaga, I think yeegomba okuwasa okukola embaga. The same, it was a mirror. It was a mirror image of what he saw on the wedding. Munfuna bulungi. Okiraba? Ensi erimu ebintu ebina, it's called a contradiction. Waliwo ebintu ebimu bye tulaba. We kind of don't make them up, and then when we make them up, we kind of lost. Munfuna bulungi. So, embaga ya Idi Amin in 1975 during the OAU summit was a mirror image. Kati mumbuuza oba eyo Amin yali mukwano gwa muzeeyi wamwe, yalaba bulabi muzeeyi wange ku mbaga eyo. Amin yali amanya abantu bangi nnyo, kyensoso bagamba mu vidiyo. Yajja ku mbaga eti yajjanga mugenyi, yalina byakolera ku Silver Springs Hotel. I think he used to frequent the hotel. And on that, of course, they make the leeway. Kubanga botunula ebifaananyi baali once down in the what? In the grounds of the hotel. Kiraba? Then Idi Amin yajja n'abuuza ku bantu n'alaba buli kimu ekigenda mu maaso. And that is it. But of course, with that interruption of things, a lot of, things are put on the down low, And it was a very brilliant function, very brilliant occasion, and all that. So, in your synopsis, part 6. Anybody synopsis, part 6. Era njibawadde nga bwe njibawadde random, ebintu byonna byonna biva mu research, the recollection. Are we good, my people? Munyumirwe emboozi munange kati emboozi nze gye mbawa eri uncensored, unadulterated, and all that. So yeah, what time do I have? Wow, I have 1 hour. I need to get out of here. So yeah, bannange, I love you. Same old. But Bettina storyline followers, story abagisoma bagifollowing lwakuba sijjogerera ennaku zino. All right, I got you people. Have a nice one.